My background, well, I was born in the 50s, and when the first wave of surf hit, I was a little kid. So I was pretty oblivious to it. Lived in Wisconsin, so I was landlocked, and that was, another strike against me. But I did subliminally hear it on the radio. And I heard songs like Walk, Don't Run, Lighthouse, Telstar, Pipeline, things like that. I didn't realize it at the time what the names of the songs were, but as I got a little older and heard the songs on the Moldy's radio station and stuff like that, I recognized having heard them. I liked them, but being a kid, I was into comic books and riding bicycles, doing kid stuff. I wasn't into buying records. And by the time I was ready to start buying records, Beatles hit, and that was the end of any other kind of music for me. I was just blown away. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And so from there on out, for quite a while, I was into the Beatles and the British invasion bands, and then got into the heavier bands and the hard rock and British blues, that kind of stuff. That carried me through the 70s. Now, by the late 70s, I was living in Santa Monica, California, which is Southern California. It's the beach of LA. And ashamedly, I was oblivious to the second wave. There was a big concert, a couple blocks from my house at the Santa Monica Civic. Dick Dale, John and the Night Riders, and the Surf Punks. The Surf Punks were headlining because they had songs on the radio. But yeah, this happened, and I wasn't even aware that it happened. And these bands were playing all around town, and I didn't know it. And it kills me now, but that's just the way it was. Anyway, as I got into the 80s, I started picking up a little bit on surf because some bands that I really liked that I was seeing live would throw in a surf song here and there. People like Roy Buchanan. Roy played Walk Don't Run, and Peter Gunn theme. Eric Johnson, he played Telstar and Apache. And Jimmy Thackeray with the Nighthawks, and in solo he played Apache. And these songs just blew me away and kind of got my attention. Then probably about 1985, a record hit, and I read in a Guitar World magazine or something, it was an interview with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. He was raving about this record called Big Guitars from Texas. And so I picked it up. It sounded cool, and I thought, wow, instrumental guitar music, how can I go wrong? Billy likes it, it's got to be good. And this was just an amazing record. It was the rhythm section of the Fabulous Thunderbirds with 4 ace guitar players from Texas, and it was all instrumental. And it wasn't actually surf, but it was surf adjacent. So there's like Link Ray-ish stuff and some Tex-Mex stuff with a lot of reverb on it, and really cool stuff. Anyway, it just knocked me for a loop, and I loved it. Then they did another one a year later, and I picked up on that. So that kind of got me, more thinking more about instrumental music, and it kind of lit the fuse a little bit. Probably around 1990, I really started to pay more attention. There was a Rhino Records series of instrumental albums. Well, there were some vocals in it too, actually. It was called Guitar Player Presents The Legends of Guitar. And there are about 10 of these records. There was country, volume 1 and 2, 50s rock, 60s rock, 70s rock, classical, jazz. And there was the first one that I got, surf guitar. And it was called volume 1, but there never was a volume 2. Anyway, this CD changed my life. It had all the major first wave bands, and most of them had their major hits. So it had Pipeline and Latina, all the good stuff. And I just played that to death, and it really got my attention, got me focused on surf. And I was reading articles in Guitar Player magazine about some of the surf guitar guys. One of them being Paul Johnson. I think Dan Fort did an article on him. And so I was in the record store one day and I saw one of his records. It was the Packards, and it was like a 2 for CD. It was pretty good price, so I jumped on that. And that kind of, kept the fire going. Then probably a year later, I saw Dick Dale for the first time. It's my first surf concert. Santa Monica used to have these Thursday night free concerts on the pier, and one week it'd be reggae, the next week it'd be R&B, and this week it happened to be surf. I went down there. I thought, well, I'm starting to get into surf. I need to check this out, see what it's all about. So I went down there, and the Safari's open, and it was the original Safari guys, and Jim Pash and Paul Johnson was part of it. He wasn't in the original Safaris, but he had joined the band, in the late '80s or in the early '90s, and it was great. They blew me away. And then Dick Dale came out and just tore my head up. It was fantastic. So that definitely got my attention. I was stoked about that. At that time, I moved up to Northern California to San Jose, and this is where it really started taking off. There's a great radio station here, which many of you are no doubt aware of. It's KFJC. And Phil Dirt was the DJ at the time, and he was incredible. The guy was just amazing. Just the breadth and depth of his knowledge and what he played on the radio station was killer, and it really got my attention. I learned a lot. And I first heard the Mermen. Now the Mermen, hearing them was almost like when I heard the Beatles. It changed my life. It altered my DNA forever. I can't state how important it was for me. So I started grabbing all the Mermen CDs. I saw them for the first time at a place called The Edge in Palo Alto, and that was 1997. And wow, one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. And so I started seeing them a lot after that, because they're a Bay Area band and they played around here quite a bit. Anyway, so we got into early 2000s. This is when I went all in. Probably about 2002, 2003. I continued learning from Phil Dirt and his radio broadcasts. And, I'd gotten a computer by then, so now I had the internet, access to the internet, all the information there. Phil Dirt had this website called Reverb Central, which had tons and tons of reviews of albums. So this is kind of where I went to find out, okay, which albums do I start with? Which ones are, the good ones? Which ones are, can I wait on? Which ones do I, neglect? And I spent a lot of time in there, learned a lot about it, all the albums, I started buying stuff. Also important was there were surfing Sundays at a place in San Francisco called the Hotel Utah Saloon. And Ferenc Dobroni from Pollo Del Mar usually was the host. And that time there was no Frankie and the Cool Boys. It was Pollo Del Mar, or he had a band called the Mach 4. He played SG 101 a couple of years ago. Great band. And so, they'd usually be the hosts, and then they bring in bands. Local bands sometimes bands from Southern California, quite often bands from out of the country or other parts of the world. I saw just a tremendous number of great shows there, and that really got me attending a lot more surf concerts. That was big for me. And I got to talk to a lot of the band members and get to know them, learn from them, learn from the other fans, meet some of them. And this is where it really took off. I met big Tiki dude, and Jeff Hanson at the Hotel Utah, and we've been friends ever since. And you know, I can't emphasize enough how important he's been to my journey, you know, along this surf trajectory. Anyway, I started going down to concerts in Southern California, like peer shows, and when the SGO 101 convention, as it was called then, started up, I was at the first one, and I've been to all but 2 of them. I think I missed the 3rd one and the 6th one. I had some medical issues and couldn't make it, but I've been to all the other ones. Been to a lot of other shows down there, and now I'm retired and got more time, so I'm able to get down there for more shows. I actually traveled up to Seattle, see some shows up there, and I went back to Atlanta for the Southern Surf Stomp Fest a couple of years ago, right before COVID, and that was fantastic. What a great event, and great people down there. Yeah, just amazing. I still haven't hit Surfer Joe yet. That's on my bucket list. I really want to get over there. I have to get over there. That's something I want to do. But it hasn't happened yet, and hopefully soon. Let's see what else. Well, as far as my taste in music goes, surf music goes, you think an old guy like me would be into first wave, you know, that would be my thing. But as much as I love it, and I do love it, it's not my focus. I'm more into the modern surf. And Ivan Pongrasic from the Space Cossacks and Madeira. Now he's got a band called Lords of Atlantis. He put out his idea was that there are 3 kinds of surf bands. There's traditional, there's revolutionary, and there's evolutionary, and then there's revolutionary. The evolutionary ones that kind of continue along the trajectory of the first wave, kind of modernizing it a little bit. Revolutionary ones are bands like the Mermen and Dyke Hygiene and stuff like that. But I kind of lean more towards the evolutionary and the revolutionary surf bands, and the Mermen, like I said, that's my favorite band. You know, hands down, you know, that's my favorite active band in any genre, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I do love, you know, most of the different subgenres of surf, and you know, I've seen, well, I don't know, hundreds of surf bands. I probably go to about 50 concerts a year, approximately, more or less. And some years more than others. And probably about half of them are surf concerts. So I get to quite a few concerts. Instrumental music really inspires and challenges me. It's something that allows my imagination to kind of take me on a journey, and helps me interpret and feel the music in different ways. Vocal music doesn't do that as much for me. It seems like it kind of fences you in a little bit, and I like that instrumental music kind of leaves it wide open for your mind to take you where you want to go. I don't really like vocals in surf music too much unless you're Evan Foster. You know, the Boss Martians, you know, totally rule, and they can do whatever they want. They're incredible. And I like his vocals, but most of the other surf bands, I don't want to hear vocals. I'll tolerate it, you know, as long as they only do a song or two, but I'd rather not hear vocals in surf unless it's Evan and the Boss Martians. I see music in 2 categories: art and fun. And for me, personally, I generally feel the music more deeply when it's art, you know, when it's more serious. It's not that I don't enjoy fun music, but, you know, that conjures up different kinds of feelings, and, you know, it's just as valid. And some people would rather, you know, have the feeling of fun than they would, you know, some deep artistic connection. But for me, you know, the artist is, you know, more more meaningful and evokes more feelings in me. But the pinnacle is when you combine the two. You have a really artistic band that is also super fun. You know, that's, to me, that's the apex, and that's, you know, what I really like. I'm also a big time guitar geek. I've been playing pretty much since the Beatles hit the American shores, so it's been almost 60 years. I don't play in a band. I haven't been active in about 20 years. I did play in some bands here and there in Southern California and a little bit up here after I moved up here, but I haven't been active. I'm retired now. I hope to get to playing some more. I did sit in with the Del Novas a couple weeks ago up at a place called Wilfred's Lounge up in Napa. And they were very gracious and kind and invited me to sit in and play with them for a couple of songs. So I did that, had a lot of fun. It was great. They invited me to join them again July 19th at Aptos. Going to play with them down there too, so that'll be fun. Maybe this will light a fire under me, get me fired up to start a band, get more active. I'd like to do that. I do want to say the surf community is beyond special. You know, it's just an amazing group of people, phenomenally supportive and welcoming, and you know, it's not just the fans, but also the musicians. You know, it's just an amazing group of people, and I'm thrilled and honored to be part of it. I hope to see and meet, you know, many of you at SG 101 on July 26th, 27th, and 28th. And there are some surrounding shows in Northern California and in Southern California. I hope to see some of those. And shows beyond. You know, this July's tsunami of shows coming up here in California. Brian, I want to thank you for this opportunity. You know, what you do is amazing. It's so incredibly beneficial and supportive to the worldwide surf community.